Good morning to our YouTube channel viewers. And I'm absolutely delighted to announce that we have the wonderful Orla Kelly with us today to have a chat. So I'm a big fan of Orla's. I think she does amazing work. She has helped so many self-published authors in this space. The quality of her work is just fantastic. And I'm so delighted that she's joining me today to have a chat to basically help authors and inform authors how to self-publish their book. So good morning, Orla. You might just introduce yourself for us today.
Good morning, Rachel, and thank you so much for that lovely welcome.
Yeah.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
I feel like my work is done. Oh no, thank you. Yes, I suppose, I set up Orla Kelly Publishing way back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just really wanted to, I suppose I was an author myself at that stage, and I was a stay-at-home mother, and I was just writing for the pure pleasure. But I found I was also bewildered and didn't know where to go. I knew there was the big publishing houses, but I felt totally intimidated by them. And, and I think most first-time authors are intimidated, and, you do worry about what you put out there and how it's going to be received. And also I didn't have the money, to know how to do it. So I suppose I taught myself how to self-publish. And then it's only, I think back in the later part of 2014, I was just telling people what I was doing and how I taught myself how to self-publish. And they said, there's an entrepreneur program coming up. You should actually pitch your idea. It's like Dragon's Den.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a 6-month program. And anyway, I actually got received into the program, and it takes your idea then into a viable business. Whereas I was happy to stay home and just do this. But then the thought of having to, more or less, I had to up myself a notch really to actually be able to do this for other people. And I suppose it's only from talking to other people, and my services have expanded over the years really, and people are now thankfully are becoming a lot more savvy about what they do want and don't want, and are a lot more clued in as to what options are available to them, which makes my work a bit easier, definitely. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the problem of overwhelm, too much information. Oh my God, too much information can lead to paralysis as well. So I think it's important, to get the balance right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I suppose you kind of then you started your business based on your own experience. You were kind of self-taught, and then you kind of, I suppose, thought that service could help others, which it obviously has. So you started in 2014, and how many authors would you say ballpark you've helped since? Is there a number?
I actually don't know. I've never actually counted, because I suppose I set up everything for year by year,
Yeah.
And I suppose just because there's the thing is, the book files are massive to work with, and then you've got the EPUBs and you've got the cover files and everything. So I have to actually, after a certain period of time when each job is finished, I have to actually archive them and take them to an external storage space.
Yeah.
Because I suppose I don't count, because to me it's about I suppose the relationships, the people I have met along the journey. It's not just kind of like, okay, another one and another one. I'm not like that, because I find I have a lot of repeat work from authors. Mm-hmm. I mean, some authors since, I suppose, 2014, I'm still getting work from that have been really, really happy, So I don't think of it in terms of numbers. But the one thing I notice, and it is a disconnect, definitely, is there's an awful lot more male authors publishing than female authors self-publish. Which
really?
I'm trying the gauntlet. Oh my goodness, absolutely. I was even looking at even my current lists of clients, and I have a whiteboard over there now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably about 65 to 70% of male, believe it or not.
Wow.
And actually, for a lot of them, the male ones at the moment a lot of them are non-fiction,
Are non-fiction. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Wow.
It is interesting. Yes, So it's again, I suppose I work with my most senior client was 88, and it was a gentleman, and it was on his bucket list. My solicitor his solicitor also, and sent him to me, and it's something he wanted to do, his book of poetry, to put in his pocket. 88 years, and he's had this dream for about 50 years, never married, used to feed the starlings every day, a real quiet man, and oh my God, such a privilege to be able to actually give him his book. Wow. I think some clients stand out for different reasons. Other clients have had maybe mental health issues, challenges, and so I suppose my relationship with them would be a lot more I suppose slower, definitely, because I am at the pace that works best for them, because they're going through something, they're processing it. So you can't just say, okay, give me your manuscript and here's your book. It's taking a lot out of them as well, to actually go on this journey. So I'm kind of very much on the journey with any author I publish with, which I think probably shows, because in the testimony I get, I'm kind of very caring. I read everything I publish. I have to, because I feel, how could I just take money from somebody to publish a book without being interested in them as an author and their work? It's more than that, because often I might see something that either doesn't make sense or is in the wrong place and it could be improved on, and I spend time working with the authors. So more than kind of just a publisher, I kind of have their back as well, which I think is important, because I would rather catch something before anybody else sees it, rather than have it go out there and then wait for reviews and critique to come back, So, and cover design, again, is something that's so important to get right, it really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, that definitely comes across in all your books, not just the cover design, which we'll touch on in a minute, but definitely that personal touch. Like, you can see that you've invested, your time, not just as a publishing professional, which you are, and you do very well, but there's also a huge personal touch with your services. And I hear that back from, authors that you've helped, and that you do get kind of invested yourself, and you want to see them succeed, and you want to kind of, as you said there, have patience with them in the process, that it's not, you're not putting huge timelines on people either, which I think actually kind of can come from the traditional publishing houses sometimes. They have to meet targets, and that can almost stifle creativity. So it's lovely to hear that you have that time for them, not just on a professional level, but it seems like a bit of on a personal level as well. Which does kind of lead me on to the question about your book covers, because now I've too many to show on this call and I couldn't possibly pick some over others. However, I can personally say all you have to do is look at Buy the Book, and there's a vast, beautiful collection of not just books, but their covers. They're very strong. And again, going back to that personal, they're very personal to each author. You definitely haven't just gone and tarred everyone with the same brush by any means. And it shows. So maybe you can tell us a bit about the process of that cover selection and how that works.
Actually, totally, because you know what? The cover design is so important. I mean, there's one lady, actually, I just remember, I was actually telling her to join BuytheBook.ie. It was last year I worked with her. But she had two books, but I was only working on one of her books, okay? But her first book was kind of like, a prequel to this particular book. And I looked at it on Amazon, and I just looked at it, and I knew that when I was going to publish her next book, there was going to be a massive disconnect between both books, and they would look like they weren't even published by the same author. Mm-hmm. And I actually, and something I never do, only that it was a related story, and that they had to match, really. They really had to go hand in hand. I ended up, when we got her second book right, and again, a lot of authors, I suppose, they don't know what they want to cover, and they might have an idea, but it could be the wrong idea, because what they think might make sense, you'd have to read the story for it to make sense. But yet it might not be appealing on a book cover, mm-hmm. So I suppose I don't form judgment really on a book cover until I read the book myself, and then I can form an opinion, because I suppose I kind of know what works. And then I suppose I give a little bit of homework to authors to do and say, okay, well, what I want you to do is, okay, you know your story. I don't know your story yet. I will read it. But I need you to say, to go to the place, like go to bookstores, go to a place like Amazon, go to books that you think are similar to yours, go see, and the ones that are selling, because obviously they're going to go show up first. Okay, you need to do a bit of detective work. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? What fonts do you like? Do you notice a common theme? Very often there's a very common theme going on between the types of images, whether they're very dark backgrounds and maybe red font, title, or white font type. And I said, your book needs to fit in, okay? It's not having your book bland or it looks the same old, but your book has to look like it belongs. Don't try to be too quirky when it comes to the cover design. It won't work, because readers will buy the same books for a particular reason. If a book stands out completely, it stands out for the wrong reason, okay? They will think, oh God, that book looks strange, and if they form a bit of an adverse opinion about a book cover, they're not even going to give the book a chance, okay? So the book cover has to be professional, okay? And I think having the right fonts, sometimes the fonts almost are lovely. They're kind of like a 3D effect. They kind of jump out as opposed to being flat, Different fonts work with different covers, getting the balance right between the image and the balance and the size of the font, or whether you go font only. There's so much to get right. But I suppose if a client wants an image, then it's a case of actually seeing, okay, what the type of image would work, and then looking through. Like, people can turn their nose up at stock photographs, but once you pay for your stock photograph, you can transform it into a cover that doesn't, okay, the image is in it, but it's a really professional cover. If people are getting stuff customized and made from scratch, it can cost a lot, because that's called a montage image, where you're asking for different components to be put in and blended together. And the more images that you have to be harmonized and blended together to form a brand new image, the more fake it can look and the more unnatural it can look. But it's very important, to try to keep things simple but professional at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. I mean, it's the first thing that stood out for me, obviously, before reading any of the books, but the cover is just, I really have to hand it to you. You've done justice to all those books and those stories. And just hearing you explain it there, that makes a lot of sense. When I look at your books now, the thinking behind actually getting to that stage, in terms of simplicity and fonts, and not kind of going overboard. But that part of market research is really interesting, to actually go and see what you're drawn to yourself, and to see what that common theme is. Is kind of a step that some of us might not even think of doing. So that's really good advice. In terms then, Orla, so I've had a lot of questions from people who maybe are at the stage where they have a Microsoft Word document, and they're wondering what next, or how to progress from that stage. So if I was to come to you with that manuscript in Word, what kind of services could you offer me? What would be the steps? What would I have had to think? How prepared do I need to be to come to you, I suppose, is another question.
Well, I suppose, I suppose the first question I ask, like any author, is, has this book been edited or not? And edited often doesn't just mean a simple case of, I checked the spellings, okay, because the punctuation could be off. I mean, I might have documents come to me and they say, it's edited, and it's only when I really start working on it, like the speech bubbles, they may have no closing speech bubbles, or no punctuation, or there might be a gap and then the full stop, or the question mark and closing speech bubble wrong place, and it just looks awful, okay? And I think people often, they just want to say, oh no, it's done, it's fine, just publish it. But that's not the right approach, because when you have it in print, that's it, and you're forever looking at that mistake, if you have print copies, and they look ugly. That's where printed proof comes in. So I always say, try to get it professionally edited as much as possible. If you can't afford professional edit, I think definitely spell check. I suppose, me, myself, I'm not an editor, but I also just have, for my own sake, I've got Grammarly Professional or Premium, which does pick up long-winded sentences, you know, maybe the wrong meaning of a word. Obviously, you can't select everything and just do a blank, yeah, that's checked, that's done. You have to manually go through those checks. But again, you know, I would say get your book as shipshape as possible. Then after somebody sends me that and say, no, it's been edited, that's fine. If it's not edited, I get a cost for it. And then that has to be included in the timeline, because depending on how long the document is, editing can really take up to a month, sometimes longer, depending on feedback backwards and forwards between the editor and the author. Then it's a case of saying, I suppose if it's fiction or non-fiction or children's book size, then we need to say, okay, well, what book size, you know, are you happy to go with this particular size? Generally, it's best to keep within the trade standards, you know. Children's books have a lot less, I suppose, choices, because, you know, like Amazon and both Amazon and Ingram Spark, you're quite restricted. If people want landscape books, you're kind of limited in the choices they have. So some choices, you don't have a huge amount of choices, okay? And I suppose then it's a case of me then setting up the book, the word manuscript to a particular book size, say a trade paperback size. And what I do then is, you know, I might do 2 sample layouts of a sample chapter, and then the client might pick their favorite one and say, yeah, I like that, you know, I like the layout there. And then I tell them what the font is, and then I prepare the rest of the book at that, send them you know, again, the digital PDF. And then once I know that that's kind of, they're happy enough with that, like while I'm doing this also, the cover design doesn't really go on, because I need to read the book first. But the cover design can never only be finalized when we know for a fact what the final page number is. And then it's a case of, I then design the template for the cover based on book size and the page number, and whether it's in color, black and white, or, you know, and that's sent to my cover designer along with an image maybe, and the text that the author would have provided, or that I would have suggested to the client, you know. That's sent to the designer then, along with text for the back cover of the book, and, you know, and the ISBN barcode, author picture, etc. And then they get to see a digital PDF of the front cover, and then of the front, back and spine, so they get to see what their book looks like. And I suppose the next step in the process then is, you know, while all this is going on, I set homework for clients to do, that they have to set up their accounts with, say, Amazon or Ingram Spark in the UK, or both. They need to provide, it's not just a case of providing the book information, they need to provide the about the author information, a high resolution image of themselves that they're happy belongs to the back cover book, ideally not with arms going around their necks, you know. It needs to be them, you know, with pretty either neutral background or, you know, unobtrusive background. That looks professional. They also need to do, if there's any dedication or any acknowledgements, they need to actually send in that. For non-fiction books, if there's a call to action, or if there's anything that what the next step is that they would like somebody to take, then provide that. But I suppose for non-fiction books, I kind of often support the author in the next steps as well, you know. And then it's a case of uploading the book files to their accounts on Amazon and Ingram Spark, that I will have given them a video on how to actually create those accounts themselves, and getting them a printed proof copy, which I think then it becomes very real, okay? Because we all suffer from eye fatigue, and looking at, often it can be quite hard to spot errors on the screen, but when you see it in print, it's a lot easier. So then any final edits are made then, you know, before any book would go live, you know. So it's great peace of mind to see what a book will actually look like then as well. And then I suppose any Kindle book then is prepared once all the edits are made, and again, then you can be assured that there's not really any errors. And I suppose one of the best things I like about self-published is, you know, authors don't need to commit to any particular print number, okay? If they do want to have a particular print number, it may be more economical to go with a traditional printer, but for low print runs, no. And you really do need to make sure that for the print runs you are going with, if it's with a traditional printer, or even Amazon and Ingram Spark, that you do want them to be as error-free as possible, but knowing also that potentially there could be errors. So I think updating where you do spot errors, I think having them updated and reloading the updated books online as a Kindle book and as a print book. Again, really important,
Yeah,
just
no,
to keep the
that's
quality there.
Yeah, that's so true, Orla, because mine, when mine arrived from Amazon, I spotted so many different errors on the print copy than I had, spotted. Well, myself and Des had looked at it so many times online, but there could have been 5 or 6 in that printed copy. And I suppose I've had my own positive and negative experience with Amazon, but I would always say a positive was being able to get those proof copies sent to my house for little cost, and to be able to do print on demand, just while those final edits were being made. And I could still do that today if I find any more mistakes. But that's such an amazing service that you offer. Like, from just when you started there, from that, point to actually seeing the book through. I mean, I can just see self-published authors becoming more and more, and to have that, to have you support them in that way is just, incredible. In terms of time frame then, Orla, assuming that the book isn't edited, what typically is the time frame to see the book in your hands?
Okay, well, normally I suppose I kind of give that generally it's you get your book published within, say, 6 to 8 weeks from once a final edited document is received, because sometimes timelines get thrown out and I'm not exactly able to start straight away because I have other things going on, because the editor might say, okay, well, I'm expecting a book back from the client at such date, but things happen, and things happen in people's lives and things get slowed down. So again, it's generally from when I start working on it, it's 6 to 8 weeks, because I do find with Brexit and also with COVID, like even Amazon services or Ingram Spark services are a lot slower than what they would have been. I would have been able to get books turned around faster. Now it is still slower. Okay. But again, look, we're all working in this situation, so there's some things you've no control over. As well, some of my clients, may just for whatever reason, have stuff going on in their own lives, and may not get back to you as fast, or might say, okay, look, I just want to think about this for a minute, or I need to I might set them tasks to do, and I might be just waiting for them to come back to these tasks. A lot of it is that there's one particular client now at the moment, and I think it's probably just sheer terror, because they're at the terror barrier. They're actually ready to go, but they're just afraid. And I think sometimes you just have to call it. It is okay to be afraid. We're all I've been there. I've been terrified. I didn't tell when I published even years ago. I told nobody for months because of just this terror, or that they think, oh, who is she? God, she thinks she's the next J.K. Rowling, or she'll have notions now, and she won't want. And you kind of it's the self-talk you tell yourself. It's just ridiculous. Instead of patting ourselves on the back, saying, I did it, because there's so many people who have started books but have never finished them. So for some clients, they're like, I know one particular lady now, the editor has done 50 edits with her, 50, and her book, this particular job has been going on since February of last year. And I haven't yet received her book. I have now received it, but she still is at a stage where it's not handed over officially to me, so I can do nothing with it. And look, that's just okay, because I think with the year we've all put through in the last 2 years, it's okay. I mean, I'm not twiddling my thumbs. I'm not running out of things to do. I just work on with what I have currently working on, and just do it. But I suppose the biggest thing I would find, and if I was to say anything to any author, is do make sure that the document you send is the final document, and not just a previous draft on your computer that you suddenly realize, oh dear, when I have the book done, actually, do you know what, that's actually the unedited version. Now, generally if it's unedited, I will spot it, because I will notice mistakes and say, are you sure this is edited? But there could be things that might read right, but yet they would have been updated or changed, and I wouldn't know. And then that's me starting kind of again. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't really mean me reading it over again, but it means I have to re-import or redesign. And it's not a case of me just importing everything and press a button and it's done. Because you have to sometimes change line space, not line spacings, but you don't want just one word over the next page. So you have to do a certain amount of adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bit of work in setting everything up. It does take a number of days.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you know, I would say make sure it is the final official document. Make sure you're happy with it, because editing it afterwards, changing individual words on different pages, because I work with, I suppose, Adobe InDesign, most people don't have that package. So it's not just a case of, can you give me back my Word document and I'll change it? Because that's me starting again. I would need to get edits, say back, like I've got some edits now from somebody today, and that's fine. They're just here. It's easy. But if you have somebody who realizes afterwards, oh gosh, I'm not quite ready yet, and you could have maybe 10 pages of edits, then that all has to be charged for separately, because it's not the original book as such that was sent in. 10 pages of edits is more than just a minor adjustment, you know.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. And I suppose in a way it's like when that document goes, you know, it's not that there's no turning back, but you know, 99% of that is going to be what's in the final, you know, the final book. So just to be very, very comfortable with that.
Yes.
You know, I suppose, that's great advice, Orla. The other questions I want to ask you, just around kind of after support. So when the book is actually printed, you know, what, if any, do you help authors, I suppose, after they have their book, whether that's going into libraries? I suppose these are some of the common things that come up, going into libraries, going into bookstores, you know, getting a bit of, you know, social media, some social media accounts going up. Is there anything you provide on that end?
Yeah, well, I suppose what I do, I suppose because I'm a publisher and I have to be careful that, you know, I kind of stick with what I do best. And because I work with so many authors, even over the years, I don't do an ongoing marketing support service, you know, where I actually market people's books, because that would just take up so much of my time and take away from the publishing. What I do is, for every author that I do work with, I do what's called, first of all, I've access to, they get access to a private, dedicated book marketing strategy page, okay, which is all the relevant information about how to, you know, get your books into bookstores, sample cover letters, send them, how to, you know, do an invoice for them. And I do a little training video on that. And also then for people maybe who have to box up books, maybe send off 10 books, you know, how to work out what the cheapest service is for sending off your books. And I kind of do a little video on that as well. Also, you know, how to get reviews for your book. I give a lot of information and sites for reviews. I go through paid reviews, free reviews. Also running book deals. If you have a book on Amazon, whether you want to run a free book promotion or 99 cents book deal, working with that. If you want to submit your book to some, you know, sites, you know, where they can go for awards. There's a lot of kind of information there. Also using Canva just as a free kind of like for social media graphics, for actually doing social media sharing of your book with a little review about your book. Because I suppose I also provide, I suppose, some dedicated, tailored social media sharing infographics for, say, you know, Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and, you know, Facebook, that are actually resized as an image graphic, but with text on it and the book cover, that it's set to the correct social media sharing platform size, you know. So it reads better. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't read the book, because often I put in a little tagline about the book or something that stands out about the book and with the book cover. And then, you know, I kind of encourage authors then to, you know, to share that and just share little bits about the book as well, you know. But just, I suppose, you know, like, I suppose for some people as well, when their books, when they get more reviews, they might come back to me and say, oh, can you ever update my book? I got brilliant review from here. And I go in and I update the ebook and I update the print on demand book and I upload them again. So they have their up-to-date reviews in there, which is really, really good. And I update their, you know, their Amazon description with the reviews as well, you know. So again, some people might come, I also give them all the information, like I might have, say, bookstores contact me back looking for some of my clients' books, and I always say, I always pass that on to the client and say, look, okay, that an email now has come back and you need to act on it. I don't store copies of books other than me fulfilling legal deposits for clients and keeping a spare copy of each person's book myself. I don't actually post books out to stores or anything, because the ceiling would just collapse on me here.
Yeah.
The weight of boxes of books, even as it is with COVID and the library's been closed, it was crazy trying to just store everything,
Yeah. No, I love that you kind of focus on, as you said there, you don't try to do everything.
No.
You do what you do really well. But also you have, the fact that you even have this marketing page is incredible. That gives people a start. It gives them some kind of support in the aftermath. And, small, simple things that I've just kind of come across myself, but like, I could have used that, just when you said about Canva, it took me 6 months to kind of come across that and say, oh, this could be, useful. But again, there's work there in terms of formatting, because every social media, as you said, page is different. So that's brilliant that you offer that. I hadn't actually been aware of that.
I do. And I also do, for some clients, I do book marketing, or I do video book trailers, whereby I actually just, have the book cover. And for some of them now, there might be images from the book. Like there's one guy now, and it was a running journal all around the coast of North of Ireland. So there'd be images in the book, and I would put it to music. So it's like a short, you only need something for about a minute. And it kind of like, it's just a little book trailer that you can upload to YouTube, you can upload to your Facebook and share it, and then include the link underneath it to where the book can be bought. And again, it works also well for fiction books once you have the right type of music to it. But again, these are all royalty free music, and just having kind of like teasers from the book. And again, it kind of adds another dimension to your book as well. Everything you do needs to be like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, because different people will find you in different ways. But if I was giving any tip to any author, the most important piece of advice I would give to them is, you cannot expect to just put your book up on a platform like Amazon or whatever and walk away from it, because you might as well keep your money in your pocket because there's thousands of books uploaded every day, and the authors I have found to have been the most successful are the ones who have full conviction behind their book, and basically put as much effort into marketing their book, and letting people know about it, and sharing, they do somebody a favor and read their book, and the other person, it works. It's not spammy or it's not sleazy. It just works. And the authors who have done that, who have kept plugging away consistently with their books, are the ones who are reaping the rewards, definitely.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And that's come up a good few times in the group. And I suppose it's sort of like, when you're writing the book, you think that that's the hard work and that's the hard part. And then when you're finished, you kind of realize that, it's just beginning in some ways. And, self-promotion and marketing might not come maybe easy to us, but that is unfortunately just part and parcel of it. And you can't expect just, whether it's even Buy the Book or Amazon or any site, doesn't magically sell your book. You need to sell, you always need to sell it. You need to be fully responsible for that part of the process. And, I find that even, if it's just half an hour every day, do one thing, it could be something small and simple, but that eventually does pay off. And, everyone will want to market it in a different way. And some people will kind of want to go into bookstores. Some will want to go into libraries. Some will want to do online videos. Other people, podcasts. It'll be different for everyone, but the important message is that, you have to keep it alive. And I know Paddy Osborne talks about this quite a lot.
He's fantastic. And because even with Facebook, the algorithm is changing so much. There's very few people's posts I see now, but I always seem to see Paddy's and Moira's, because they're plugging away. Others I don't really see. And you see, I suppose I can, even though I'm a publisher, I can do so much, because I suppose what I do is one, I read the book, so I understand the book. And then if an author might send me, okay, here's what I want on the back cover of the book. If I feel it's not strong enough, I add more punch to it because I've read the book, okay? And I know the words to actually add in, okay? And then I also optimize the Amazon book description for relevancy, for keywords that are relevant to the genre and theme of the book, okay? So that's important as well, okay? And then there's the keywords on Amazon, whereby they need to be relevant keywords, but they also need to be generally searched for keywords. And then the other part is, because I work with Adobe InDesign, I have a part in the book building process where I can actually put in my own optimized book description and my own keywords. So when the book is exported, in the metadata, which is the hidden data of the book, it contains all these relevant keywords.
Okay.
So they're uploaded. And again, if the book title needs to be changed, or if a subtitle needs to be changed, or whatever, I do as much as I can from a marketing point of view for discoverability and search.
Yeah.
But in today's world, that's ticking a very important box and having the cover and all that work. But there's other parts that go into having your book discovered, and that is also where the author comes in so much.
It's so true, Orla. Yeah, it's like you can kind of do behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a technical side to marketing, I suppose, that, you know, I wouldn't even be aware of, but just when you're talking about it there, I know of it, I suppose, but I wouldn't know how to do it. So authors can always get help with that. But in terms of the cold face selling, you know, you need to put your face, you need to be seen, or even if it's, I suppose someone on your behalf, like I know one of our authors has her son doing quite a bit of promoting, and that's fine. And there's other family members involved, and it's lovely. It's kind of a family project, but still it's, it's the odd post here, it's an interview here, it's, as you said, that plugging, and that committing, I suppose, to giving your book that time, whether it's, I kind of thought myself, like in January, I would commit to 3 to 6 months of constant, let's call it harassing people until one person picked it up and said, I'll speak to her. Now that happened very quickly for me, and I was very lucky. But it was that initial, look, I will do this for 3 to 6 months because I've put in work to the book, and there's no point, I didn't just do it to put it up there for family and friends. I did it just to kind of reach more of a wider audience, I suppose. And everyone has their own personal, idea of what we call success, whatever that is. But in order to reach that success, it's like anything, there's work behind it. So so that's great advice. I suppose we've kind of touched on it, but I'd love to ask you, especially because you're in the industry so long, common pitfalls. Are there any that kind of spring to mind that you've seen, I suppose, authors make that you could advise, new authors coming forward not to make those same mistakes as such?
Yeah. I suppose one of the big ones I would notice is totally the wrong title for the book. Okay. And being gung-ho that, no, I want this title for my book. And if a title has to be memorable, it has to be catchy. If it's too long-winded, or if you find yourself tripping over, or if you're trying to throw the kitchen sink by having a big, long, convoluting title, just for you think it's better for SEO, search engine optimization, it's not going to work. It's going to look almost like a poor attempt at trying to get attention. Okay. I would rather have a shorter title, and then if you need to have a subtitle underneath it, but not have a big, long, massive title. And again, listen to professional advice on what should be on the cover of the book. Don't always really know best, because it may not be the best image for your book or anything like that. Also, the biggest thing is pricing. I know if authors are looking to get their books, published, and they're saying, okay, well, I need to make my money back fast, so I need to sell my book at this price, or, oh no, my work is really proprietary and I need to sell it for this price. There is a certain amount for non-fiction and fiction. I understand. And there's actually two different mindsets you almost need to kind of get around.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe if I just very briefly mention non-fiction books first, okay? Non-fiction books can be charged higher because people are actually searching for a particular want and need, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get a question answered or a problem solved, okay, that might only cost you a few euros, okay? It's a lot cheaper than having to go out and pay for the full whack of a therapist. If obviously it depends on the complexity of the problem, but if you something technical you need to know how or problem you need to solve, if a non-fiction book can do that, it's worth it. So you can charge higher, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But also for authors need to balance between, okay, what are you trying to do? Are you just trying to sell books? Okay. If you're a non-fiction author working in a particular field, that should not be your main consideration, because obviously you're in the wrong field if you're not making any money from your fields in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It should really be a way of actually opening your to new readership that you wouldn't have had before, by opening the marketplace where you may have had more local or in your own country. This is opening you to people who will get to know, like, trust you, build a relationship with you, and grow your brand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more important than to get the price within the price range of what books are typically selling for your type of book online, okay, and not being way out there, because you've got to work with Amazon as well. If you put your price that's skewed from the norm, okay, Amazon don't really give it that much attention, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If people find you, they probably find you because the author is directing you, but not because Amazon is putting a spotlight on you,
Mm-hmm.
because your price is more skewed. Amazon do not care about authors. They don't care. They just want to sell books.
Mm-hmm.
So if your book doesn't tick all of their boxes, okay, or if they make suggestions to readers based on your book and people don't buy, they're going to just say, well, do you know what? The last few people we suggested that particular author's book to, they didn't buy. And yet and then they suggest another one and there's a lot more uptake.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon are just going to push your book to the side, you know? So they don't care about you. So really you need to kind of work with them as much as possible. You need to keep their price within the price range. And you need to basically do as much as you can to keep your book in prominence with them, okay? And again, you know, even for fiction books, pricing, keep your book within the range. You will see a lot of books are quite low prices, particularly for ebooks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they're low for a reason, because people want to build up their readership. So if they have more books, they can offer them too. And that's why the leaving a review at the end of the book, you know, where at the for every one of my books, I always say to the author, it's important that we have a, please leave a review, you know, review, and direct people out to do it. And for any of the ebooks I publish, I make that a live review. So once the book is live, I go back in and I insert the live link. So easy peasy, someone just needs to click on it and are taken directly to the book page to leave a review. They don't have to go out and log in or anything. They're taken there directly. So we need to make it, you really need to be mindful of the reader of the book. Once you release your book, it's not about you anymore. It's about the reader. It's all about the reader. When I work with the authors, it's all about the author, but I'm working towards it being all about the reader, because otherwise I'm not doing my job. I might have a delighted author, but I haven't benefited them because I haven't presented their book, you know, targeted their book, optimized their book for the reader enhanced experience.
That's that's very, very well said. I haven't heard that before, but yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, Orla. I think we'll conclude on that that wonderful last piece of advice. And I suppose I'd like to ask you in finishing up our chat. Well, one, where do people find more about you? And also, do you have any extra resources that people could look at if they're kind of thinking about, you know, publishing their book?
Sure. Yeah. I suppose I'm at orlakellypublishing.com. I do have a you know, free download of behind the scenes of the self-publishing process.
Brilliant.
That I've kind of updated recently enough. It just gives people a bit of an insight into the whole self-publishing process, what people really need to know. Okay. And look, I suppose I suppose I've been very busy. I'm very busy for the next few months myself, and I suppose come September I'm going to be looking at you know, maybe launching something myself that will allow me to help more people.
Brilliant.
Because I'm very conscious as I'm getting busier, I'm able to I want to help everybody, but I need to kind of say, well, what best way I can actually support people myself, going forward, helping them. I still want to help people publish, but I need to kind of make it so that I can help more people as well going forward.
Of course, yeah. No, that'd be brilliant. And so you're going to announce that in September?
Yeah, I need to push. That's one of the things I'm pushing myself towards. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very good. No, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. As I said, I mean, Buy the Book has so many of your fabulous authors that you have helped, and I can really, really vouch for the quality, the standard. I've heard nothing but good things about you. I think you're kind of one of those people, your work speaks for itself. And I look up to that just on a personal level and professional. I appreciate your time today, all the insight you've given us, all, the help for authors, just things, I suppose, to think about.
Yes.
You've really kind of added something special for our YouTube channel. So Orla, on that note, we'll say goodbye and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Orla. Bye.